Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivradakacharya Astotra Satat Systematic Divine Grace ISKCON Pandacharya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivradakacharya Astotra Satat Systematic Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kahau Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Sri Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Bhakta Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vini Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Our glories to the summer devotees, our glories to the summer devotees, our glories to the summer devotees. All glories to Sisi, Guru, and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasa Tato Jayad Modirai Nasta Praye Sabhadesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Soke Bhakti Bhavaitinai. So welcome to this morning, to this segment of the morning program, the Bhagavatam class, Canto 3, Chapter 14, Text 19. The title of this chapter is Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening. Yamahu ātmano ardhaṁ śreyas-kāmasya mānini yasyāṁ sva-dhuram adhyasya pumāṁ carati vijvaraḥ Yamahu ātmano ardhaṁ śreyas-kāmasya mānini yasyāṁ sva-dhuram adhyasya pumāṁś carati vijvaraḥ āhur ardhaṁ. Someone is singing. Mānini ardhaṁ. Mataji's Thank you. Word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace, His Confounded Acharya, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you. Yam, the wife who, āhuḥ, is said, ātmanaḥ, of the body, he does, ardhaṁ, have, śreyaḥ, welfare, kāmasya, of all desires, mānini, O respectful one, yasyāṁ, in whom sva-dhuram, all responsibilities adhyasya, entrusting, pumān, man, carati, moves, vijvaraḥ, without anxiety. Translation. O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of her sharing in all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife. Please kindly responsibly repeat. O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of her sharing in all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife. So, please listen attentively to Srila Prabhupada's purport. By the Vedic injunction, the wife is accepted as the better half of a man's body because she is supposed to be responsible for discharging half of the duties of the husband. A family man has a responsibility to perform 5 kinds of sacrifices called panchajaga in order to get relief from all kinds of unavoidable sinful reaction incurred in the course of his affairs. When a man becomes qualitatively like the cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual values, and thus he accepts his wife as a sense gratificatory agency. When a wife is accepted as a sense gratificatory agency, personal beauty is the main consideration. And as soon as there is a break in personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. But when husband and wife aim in spiritual advancement by mutual cooperation, there is no consideration of personal beauty or the disruption of so-called love. In a material world, there is no question of love. Marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation as directed in the authoritative scriptures for spiritual advancement. Therefore, marriage is essential in order to avoid the life of cats and dogs who are not meant for spiritual enlightenment. Om Gyana Tumirandasya, Gyanatana Salakaya, Saksuru Militam, Yena Tasmai, Si Gurave Namaha. Sichetaya Manobistam, Stafitam, Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupam, Kadamayam, Dadati Swa, Padantikam, Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodato, Godudhai Puspovanto, Chitu Chandu Tamonanda. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Swami Itinam Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Picharina Nirvisesa Sonya Badi Pasatya Satarina Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Siddha Sari Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Vanchakalpataridvacha Kripasunabhyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo So welcome everyone once again to this morning class. And this topic is very, very pertinent to everyday reality. There's nothing abstract about it. You see it going on everywhere, every day, 24/7. When someone finishes the college program, gets a big job, gets a big house, big cars, next thing is to settle down. For what? Marriage. So, our system, we're not opposed to marriage because it is a social contract meant for, it is a social contract meant for spiritual advancement. And of course, there are two types of marriages. One is a grihastha. Grihastha is very difficult. The other type of marriage, anyone can get married. Huh? I didn't say so. So, I just said another type of marriage is there. I didn't describe it. We're concerned with the grihastha. Spiritual marriage. And so I was reading some comments on this very topic yesterday by Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaj in his one of his articles in the Harmonist. And he was so much emphatic about this point about when people get married, they have to see each other as a team in recreating a sustainable spiritual future for the family. It's also mentioned that the man should not see the wife as like a maid to be ordered back and forth. These are the words of Bhakti. That is not me saying it. So, marriage in Krishna consciousness is a heavy duty. And in fact, one of the fundamental principles for sustainable development of Krishna consciousness is good marriages, good progeny. Because when we have good marriages and good progenies, then we'll be able to create so many swamis, so many sannyasis. Right now, all of our sannyasis, they were not born in this movement. Not one. It's time to create sannyasis in this movement. Haribo. But that comes when we organize our marriages and produce children like who are really highly dedicated, very, very devoted, like Prahlada Maharaj. Although Hiranyakasipu was supposedly a demon, but he was blessed with Prahlada Maharaj. Was it by an accident? Huh? It wasn't by an accident. So we have to learn the science from Hiranyakasipu. Now, in the Rishima Purana, I think chapter 20, it gives some express delineation of how Prahlada came to Hiranyakasipu's family. Some of you have read that story, right? The ladies, you read that story? In the 20th chapter of the Rishima Purana. All the ladies should read that. Of course, the men should also read it. So, Hiranyakasipu was to go to the forest he had planned to go to perform some austerities. And then beg Lord Brahma for immortality, the boon of immortality. And, Brahma is the most intelligent person in this universe. He has 4 heads. And Brahma also is very mystical. You saw how this type of things he did with Lord Krishna. So, when Hiranyakasipu just had that conception of going to perform austerities and, worship Lord Brahma, pray to Lord Brahma, and demand for a boon of immortality, Lord Brahma knew about it. Immediately, he got to know, and he was in anxiety. And when he was in anxiety, his son is the best. Who is the best of Lord Brahma's sons? Narada Muni. So, Lord Brahma emphasized in the śreyas-kāmasya. There are 2 in śreyas-kāmasya. One was spoken by Lord Brahma, and the other one was spoken by Prahlada. Now, Lord Brahma mentions in his śreyas-kāmasya that when he was addressing Narada Muni had made some inquiries from him regarding conquest. And so, in response, Lord Brahma said, "My dear son, the best of my sons, putra sisters, or best of my sons, listen to me." So, in that very Kāmasya, Lord Brahma revealed that Narada Muni is the best of his sons. But how is he the best of his sons? Because he's very rich? Because he's very mystical? No, because he is the best of preachers. The best of preachers. He travels, he does risky preaching. He even goes to hell to preach. So we want to be dear to Krishna. I want to be dear to the spiritual master. We have to endeavor to become ardent preachers. Those who go out to spread the message of Godhead, they are those who are really dear to Lord Krishna. Krishna also mentions that in the Gita. No one is more dear to him than the person who spreads the message of the Bhagavad Gita. So, Narada Muni knew about the fact that his father, Lord Brahma, was in anxiety because of the preconception of Hiranyakasipu having to go to perform austerities and then making this demand from his father. So he came as a very reliable son, protective son. A son could be also protective to his father when the time is due. So we see the case of Narada Muni. He didn't want his father, Lord Brahma, to be in anxiety at all. So he came to Lord Brahma. It's like a typical Indian boy would to meet his father and say, "Baba, I know your problem. And I have a way out to help you. Don't worry. Don't be in anxiety. I have a way to help you." So Lord Brahma says, so be it. So Narada arranged with his friend. What's his friend? Parvata Muni. Narada arranged with Parvata Muni, and then the both of them took the form of birds. And when Hiranyakasipu went to the forest, he was under a tree performing his austerities, and he came to perch on one of those trees around the area, and they were reciting Om Namo Narayana Namaha. And that is like a poison to Hiranyakasipu's ears. That was a big disturbance to Hiranyakasipu. They were chanting Om Narayana Namaha. And that so much disturbed Hiranyakasipu that he vacated. He left his austerities and he went back home. So when he went back home, one day he was having fun with his wife. And this, again, you see, an intelligent woman, she knows exactly when to inquire, when to ask something from the husband, now the husband will not say no. So when they were having an affair, and then Hiranyakashipu's wife asked, "My darling," not exactly her words. So she said, "I thought you said you're going to be away for a long time when you're going to this, go for these austerities. How is it that you came back so quick?" And then he started narrating the whole episode of what transpired at the location of his austerity. How two birds came perching on a tree there, and they were reciting Om Namo Narayana Maha. And so as he was repeating that mantra, he discharged semen. And that was how Prahlada took shelter of Hiranyakashipu's womb, Hiranyakashipu's wife's womb. Ladies, you hear this? Huh? Did you hear this? You may not know, but did you hear this now? So, Hiranyakashipu did not beget Prahlada by an accident. And so we'll be hearing about chanting Krishna's name before sex. Somebody just messaged me, one of my aspiring disciples, he messaged me and said, so apart from procreation, chanting 50 rounds, husband and wife before having sex, what about something else? So this is a pertinent question. Pertinent questions that people sometimes don't ask. But then they use the wife as an agency of sense gratification. So this is exactly my response to him. See, if the wife is seen as an agency of sense gratification, there'll be a lot of problems. Because now the wife is very beautiful, and especially for young girls, the boob is 90 degrees to the chest, and then you see some other one when she gives birth to 2 or 3 kids, she's no longer like that. And then the attraction goes to somebody else who has exactly that type of feature. I've seen this even in a movement. I've seen it. People married, husband and wife are married, children here, children there. And they see another, they got attracted to other parties. They leave this world. The woman left the family. The husband also left the family. I've seen all of that here in our movement. It's not a myth. It's not a mythology. Therefore, the emphasis Prabhupada is giving to us here is to be able to not live our lives like cats and dogs. Cats and dogs, they don't have any regulations. And life is pretty easy with cats and dogs. And now, in this very text, it is mentioned that a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of shared responsibilities. And I've also seen, this is called hermeneutics, lived experience. I have lived experience. I conducted some research a couple of years ago in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and I was, trying to extract data from professionals, husband and wife. They have the same degrees. They do the same type of work, the same number of hours. And when they come back home, the man is fagged out. He's tired. He goes to sleep. The lady goes to the kitchen to cook. After finishing cooking, she goes out to pick the kids from school. She comes back, wakes the husband to eat, and then again she does the rest of the kitchen chores. So it's not just a shared responsibility, but then the women actually work more than the men in most cases. And the reason is that because women are traditionally, they have more kinetic and potential energy than men. So, that's why they have all those type of energies to deal with the extra load. We get tired. The same hours of work, 8 hours. And therefore, our scriptures also have mentioned, and there are so many cases. A typical example is the marriage between Kadamamuni and Devahuti. And people like to make a citation of Kadamamuni and Devahuti. How Kadamamuni, Devahuti was so subservient, serving the husband like a menial servant. The question is, are you a Kadamamuni? Are you a small Kadamamuni? Small one. We can use the scriptures, we can weaponize the scriptures to relegate the women to the background, but that is not how it should be. In fact, the very next text here, it says the wife is like a fort, a fortress. Fortress is a place, if even is in the ocean, you fall into the ocean, you have a fortress, you can save your life. That is the characterization of a wife, as a fort, not an object of exploitation. So think about it. We have our mothers. The way we treat the women, we should reflect, can I treat my biological mother like this? If you cannot treat your biological mother like that, then we should have a rethink. In fact, when the rhetorics is at variance with the lived experience, is called gender washing leadership. I repeat. When the rhetorics is at variance with the lived experience, it is referred to as gender washing leadership. Husband is a leader, wife is a leader, a teacher is a leader, the guru is a leader. Practically everyone is either a leader or a potential leader. Now, how we deal with the opposite sex speaks so much about our mindset. Whether we are operating with a phenomenological mindset or a gracious mindset. Sisi Radha Madhava Asasaki Kija. And so this text and the following text are very good, the very wonderful eye-openers for us to reshape and realign ourselves properly with what the acharyas are requiring of us, those of us who are in marriages. I've also seen cases, again, this is a lived experience, seen cases where the husband and wife are working. Wife is even earning far more than the husband. Wife has a PhD, husband just has a first degree. And she has to cater for all of the expenses. Yet the man never does any damn nothing to help in hard chores because of that patriarchal nature in us. It's in our genes. Pashyana pina pashyati. We may hear, we may know about it, but we don't act on it. So the question is, Is it what the scripture says? Scripture says we should protect women and not to exploit them. And therefore it is important for us to understand that the responsibilities should not just be shifted to the wife. In fact, an ideal husband is the one who caters for the whole family, provides the financial resources to cater for the family. This is Kali Yuga. And so we should not also use we should not weaponize Kali Yuga to be abusive to our female folks. Again, the way we treat the women should exactly be the way we treat our biological mothers. And if it is something different, then we are biased. In other words, the very concept that I am not this body is overridden by bias. And so those young people who are trying to go into marriage, marriage is not a place for weak people. Sometimes people think, I cannot be a brahmachari, let me get married. You can't be a brahmachari, you cannot be a grihastha. Oh yeah? Because being a grihastha means, for instance, this is a gross example, okay? Suppose you have all the best dishes. You're doing a fast, nijale carati. You're performing nijale carati, and then all of the dishes you love most, 64 dishes. I mean, they are placed in your room, and that type of fasting could be a little bit tricky, But that is a real grihastha. A real grihastha means the prasadam, palatable prasadam is there, and they're detached. So, it is important for us to understand that it's not just Prabhupada who is stressing these issues in the purport, but even Bhaktisiddhanta, stresses so much about ideal family life in the Gaudiya Vaishnava system. I've seen cases where some people are married for 6 months and then they divorce. And several reasons are there. And some of our mothers, some of the parents are becoming very wise in this movement, and I appreciate that. I remember I was in Michigan, and a mother and a daughter at the time, she was doing a PhD, and the mom, the both of them, they came, to help serving when I was there, cooking and all this stuff. So then the girl was interested in one boy, and so the mother came to ask me about the boy. I said, oh, I know that guy. He's from a very rich family. He is very rich. And then the mother said, Maharaj, it's not about riches. My daughter is doing a PhD. She's not going to rely on a man. Can this boy take my daughter back home, back to Godhead? I didn't have an answer for that. So some of the ladies, they're becoming wise. You can talk some flowery language to them that I love your daughter badly and I want to marry her. We should all become wise because there is a lot of anomalies in our social setting, in our spiritual communities. And so if we align with the prescriptions given by the acharyas, instructions, injunctions of the acharyas, and even by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna did not condemn sex. He said he is, of course, sex life, which is not against religious principles. I remember vividly Prabhupada, during his first initiation in 26th Avenue, so the devotees asked him, so we want to take initiation, what is our commitment? And Prabhupada said, 64 rounds, you chant. And they said, no, we cannot do that. It's there in the planting the seed by Satsvarupa Goswami. And so then Prabhupada said, all right, 32 rounds. And again they said, no, we cannot do that. We're not able to do that. And Prabhupada said, minimum 16 rounds. So the 16 rounds is minimum, it's not the maximum. And then somebody asked, husband and wife, what to do if they want to have sex? I remember vividly. Again, it's there implanted the seed. The Prabhupada said, 50 rounds. It's there implanted the seed. These are the very first questions that were generated during the first initiation. So to chant 16 rounds is so difficult. Is it not difficult? So to be a grihastha is easy? Huh? Boy, it's not easy. So we have to see how we are cultivating Krishna consciousness and not see people based on their bodies, based on their age, based on their gender. We will run amok if we continue to do that. So I'll just read the main text again. O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because her sharing in auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife. We see the case of the Brahmins. Lord Krishna asked his friends to go and meet the Brahmins who are performing jagya, to beg for food. The Brahmins, they were too busy. They ignored them. And then they came to report back to Lord Krishna. Even Krishna's friend, they give a feedback to Krishna. They give a report to Krishna. So Krishna said, all right, go meet the wives. And when they met with the wives, they gave them as much as they needed. It's so easy to relegate women to the background. It's so easy. Why? Because it's in our genes. I mean, it's like there is a law that there should not be any discrimination based on race. But people, they're racist. You can't stop it because it's in the genes. And therefore, it is important for us to remind ourselves these fundamental ideologies that will facilitate our social, spiritual development under the protection of Srila Prabhupada. Everybody here is under Srila Prabhupada's shelter. And so if we mistreat somebody, we are mistreating Srila Prabhupada's child. It doesn't matter who they are. So we have to realign ourselves with the words of the acharyas, instead of allowing the genes in us to override our ethical values. So, any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, this kind of question may not be asked in this kind of classes, but sometimes, we don't want to think about any sense-related things about any woman or something, but sometimes it used to come to our mind unwillingly. And after that, we feel very regret sometimes.
What is it?
Okay, Maharaj, actually, after studying that scriptures, we realized that we never.
Oh, yeah. Look, the very scripture says, Pashyana pina pashyati. Even after seeing, even after hearing. Yes, it's true.
But sometimes it comes to our mind unwillingly. And means we don't want to watch.
Yeah, that is the same principle. Pashyana pina pashyati. We know this is the truth. We know this is the injunction. We're not able to uphold it. We're not able to uphold it. So, Lord Krishna, listen. Krishna also asked Arjuna, Arjuna also asked Krishna a similar question. He said, what is responsible for this? How is it that someone is forced to do things sometimes against their better judgment? I'm rephrasing it. Krishna said, Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samobhava mahasano mahapapma vidyanam ehabhaya. There are some forces, endogenous forces, that are compelling us to act against our better judgment. That, or those endogenous forces, should be purified by devotional practice.
Whereas at that time of chanting, sometimes it is to comes.
What?
Even at that time.
Yeah. In the initial stage of our chanting, see, if you read Bhakti Vinod's Chintamani, it gives you different stages. It gives you an idea of the different stages in the chanting. Sometimes I have seen people. I was in Portland some time ago in America, and then the president's daughter, at that time she was 16, she stopped chanting. So it was just a single child they had, and then the mom was very much in anxiety. So she said I should speak with her to find out what exactly could be the problem. So I spoke with her. The mom was sitting in the sitting room. The grandmother also was sitting at one corner. And then I was speaking with this girl. So I said, I was asking, why did you stop the chanting? She said she's not having a taste for the chanting. No ruchi. So she stopped. So I asked, do you have a taste in going to school? She said no. Then the mother, she busted out laughing. So I said, Mataji, why are you laughing? You asked me to do some service, and I'm doing the service, you're laughing. She said, no, Maharaj, because you hit the nail on the head. So I said, explain what you mean. And she said that the daughter, regarding her classes and schooling, whenever she comes back from school, she comes straight to the mother's room and chastises the mother heavily. You sent me to go to school to just go and suffer, and you staying here sleeping and eating. So the mother will say, look, your father is a medical doctor. If I didn't go to college, would your father have come to marry me? So I went to school. So to cut matters short, I spoke with her, and later she picked up the chant. So it could be very frustrating sometimes. I understand your point. But don't give it up. We should be persistent. Consistency in the endeavor brings great results. Okay? A stage will come when you will be free from these disturbances. Clearing stage will come. Bhakti describes the clearing stage. Clearing stage comes, and you go beyond that to even to the stage of ruchi. So don't worry, you're on track. If you're on the airplane, say you're traveling from Kolkata to say London. Yeah, aboard the plane, sometimes you pass through some turbulent areas. And then the pilot, makes an announcement, buckle your seat belts, it's a turbulent area. You're passing through some turbulence. So you don't jump off the plane. You buckle up your seat belt. You get to your final destination. You get to London. Okay? How many more minutes? Huh? Okay. We still have 7 minutes. Okay. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Maharaj. Just had a question, like how we being, wives, how we can help, how to be practically like good wife, how to help our husbands to lead the family back to Godhead. Thank you.
You want us to have a seminar on this or a question to answer now? Okay, so I can just sum it up for you. That I remember there was one time when I was in Africa. I was younger then, so I was temple president, and one of the devotees was getting involved with one young lady in the temple, and so he was already entangled. Or it was already looped in. But then the girl didn't want to miss him. So then when I said I need to have a session with him, he told the girl that Vasudeva said he wants to speak with me. So the girl went to hide by the window to listen to everything that I was telling the boy. So when I finished the session with that devotee, so he went to meet the girl, and then she said that I had all the things that he was telling you. But this Vasudeva, he never got married. How did he know all of these things? So, bottom line is that, see, there are situations that it should not be involved in over expectations. Understand that your spouse has some frailties. Each and every one of us has some frailties. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. And so if you look at your spouse as someone who can make mistakes, you don't assassinate them because they made a mistake. You can call them up when they are sober and ask politely in a loving mood. For instance, if they did something silly, they did something silly. That is when you should show that you're better off in terms of devotional values. Because Lord Krishna said, Tanti Tiksha Swap. That if your spouse does something silly, you should show by your own example, you are being put to a test. Even your child. See, sometimes the parents think, it's my baby, so I can do anything. But then each time you go the wrong way, you fail the test. Your husband, in this case, does something you don't like. And instead of tolerating and addressing that later, that's a difference. Some people will say, just tolerate. But then it will build up a trauma. And one day, he may do something very little, and the bubble bursts. Therefore, learn to address issues as they crop up, but not immediately. When your spouse does something you don't like, tolerate. And after that, find a time when he is sober and you are also happy and bring it up. Address it in a loving way. Also, my dear husband, the other day you said something like this and I felt hurt. Maybe you have a reason for saying that. Clarify so that I can adjust myself to see how we can move on in a better loving relationship. And in most cases, we are so intolerant. Two wrongs cannot make a right. And learning is a lifelong process. So yeah, that's why I asked whether you want us to conduct a seminar on this or it's a long topic, okay? But ask for feedbacks. Husband and wife, they should ask for feedbacks. I remember a gentleman met me in Delhi, and then he came to me to say he wants me to give him some advice. He's a young father. He wants me to give him some advice. I said, well, you're meeting the right person. So I said, when you get back home, when your wife is really peaceful, happy, and you are also happy, ask your wife this. That's a simple thing. It's called feedback in management science. I said, ask your wife, what are the things I'm doing in this home, in this house, that you don't feel comfortable with, that you think I can adjust so as to create a better loving relationship? I told him it's a simple thing. We call it feedback in management science. And you know what his response was? He said, Maharaj, if I ask my wife this, she'll bring a whole long list. All right, our time is up. I'm sorry. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.